Hello students, I am Padmini. I welcome you all to this Basics of Grammar. As you know, my dear students, CBSE has introduced writing analytical paragraphs as a part of the revised curriculum under the writing section. So it comes to your mind, so what is an analytical paragraph? So an analytical paragraph is a form of descriptive writing which is written on the basis of a given chart, maybe a graph, maybe data, maybe outline, clues, tables, etc. So when this writing an analytical paragraph, one should remember to describe the facts in the best possible manner and to cover the information which is provided. So the analytical paragraph has to be written in around 100 to 120 words. So the paragraph must use clear and crisp language along with providing complete details of the chart given in the question. So there will be an internal choice will be given. So my dear students, you need to attempt one question, one of the two questions of analytical paragraphs given as a choice. The question carries 5 marks. So today we are going to discuss the analytical paragraph, the format and how to write it in a very good manner. So first let us know the features of an analytical paragraph writing. So first thing, it describes the given chart, table, data, graphs, cues, etc. It should be brief and comprehensive, but at the same time it must include the complete information. It should be stat facts that are provided by the chart. It is necessary to make use of simple and accurate language. It should mention figures and quantities appropriately which is given in the chart or the data. So it is appropriate to use the same tense throughout the analytical paragraph. The most important thing is that no personal observation or response should be provided. And at last, it would be preferable to use the passive form of the verb. So my dear students, you can see the format of analytical paragraph writing. Like an analytical paragraph writing shall be divided into 3 parts. First part, that is introduction. Second, that is body of the paragraph, and the third, that is conclusion. So in introduction, you must explain in 1 or 2 lines the subject of the graph given. Then the body, explain in detail what the graph is about, use relevant figures, explain trends, make comparisons and contrasts, divide into sub-paragraphs if it is required. And at last, conclusion. In conclusion, conclude the paragraph giving the overall view or summary of the graph. So my dear students, let us discuss the format of the graph, each of these in details. Okay. First, the introduction. The introduction is the first paragraph that should describe in brief what the graph is about. It should be like an opening paragraph that introduces the reader to the context of the chart given. When writing the introductory paragraph, you need not go into the details. You just need to mention what is early evident from the chart of the graph given in the question. It is the best to write the introduction in 1 or 2 lines. Next, that is the body of the paragraph. This part of the analytical paragraph should contain details of the graph or the chart given in the question. It should contain all the important information. It is extremely important to choose the significant details that should be included in the paragraph. The body can be broken into 2 or 3 sub-paragraphs depending on the information that is extracted from the graph. So breaking the body into subgraphs makes it easy for the reader to understand. Remember my dear students, Breaking the body into subgraphs makes it easy for the reader to understand. So the body of the analytical paragraph, we can make the subgroups into 4 parts, like organizing information, then number 2 comparing information, number 3 mentioning quantities, and last, that is connecting sentences. Means what is organizing information? Organizing information means you should look for the large differences that are very prominent. You can mention the aspect which is the smallest or the largest in the data given. Any aspects that are similar should be mentioned next. You should further mention about the aspect that has remained unchanged or constant. Next, that is comparing information. Comparing information means if the chart mentions two different parties, for example, man and woman, refer to both of them in the analytical paragraph. If there is any contrast or comparison that could be drawn, you must present it effectively. If the chart is about a particular time period or highlights trends of several years, mention each year in a concise manner. If any comparison or contrast can be done for 2 or more years, you should write about it also. Next, that is mentioning quantities. Mentioning quantities means when including numbers and figures. Their accuracy must be assured. Must be ensured. There are a number of ways that can be used to describe quantities. For example, percentage, fraction, ratios, etc. And at last, that is connecting sentences. If different information or ideas are there, you must use connectors or linking phrase to link them logically. The sentence of the paragraph should be sequential and connected rationally. The last step of the format is the conclusion. So the last paragraph should be summarize the idea mentioned and the information in general. It should be concluding in nature and act as the closing statement. One should keep in mind that one must not include any personal opinions, conclusions or observations. You should simply stick to the facts which is given in the chart. You need not dispose of the information to write a good analytical paragraph. The key is to choose wisely the important information. Organize it in a very well way. State correct facts and summarize it properly. So my dear students, let us discuss some useful tips for writing an analytical paragraph. So first, that is introduction. So you can start with the following phrase like the chart given above describes. You can write the table suggests. The line graphs shows. The data given provides information about. Or you can say the pie chart illustrates. Like you can start. Next, for describing trends, use phrase and words like a pattern of growth, rapidly doubled, skyrocketed, striking increase, peaked, soaring rates, suddenly declined, like leveled off, like starting to rise, starting to fall, drop down slightly. So these words you can use for describing the trends. For describing quantities, so you can use the various styles like 48%, 58% of, 1/3 of, nearly 1/4 of, almost 100%, majority, on average, twice as much, very close to 2%, roughly, approximately 5%, just under 3%. These words we can use when we are describing the quantities. And next, for establishing a relationship or contrast, so use phrase and words like relationship between, similarly, in contrast with, in comparison to, but in the opposite case, however, whereas, when it comes to each opposed to, while, striking differences, noticeable differences, like these phrases and words we can use for establishing a relationship or contrast. And at last, for the conclusion and other connecting phrase, we must use overall, subsequently, in all. In a nutshell, for the chart given in short, striking changes, including, therefore, these words we can use for the conclusion and for connecting phrase. Study the graph. Okay, the chart depicts the number of students of class 10th speaking English and Hindi in 3 different types of school in New Delhi. So based on the details which given in the bar graph, write an analytical paragraph in 100 to 120 words. And mind it, my dear students, do not add any extra information. So this chart depicts the number of students of class 10th speaking English and Hindi in different types of schools in New Delhi. So that chart clearly illustrates that the number of students speaking Hindi in government schools is almost 3.5 times greater than the students who speak English. So in contrast, 2/3 of the total students in private school prefer to speak in English. In KVS, there is a slight difference between the choices of these two languages, with Hindi being spoken by 55% of students. So on comparing the three type of given schools, so government schools have the highest number of Hindi speakers. Private schools are at the highest position among the English speakers. So in a nutshell, private school students prefer to speak English, whereas government school students choose Hindi over English to communicate. So students are almost evenly distributed in KVS on the basis of their language spoken. So my dear students, next we are going to discuss the pie chart. So you can see here the 2 pie charts. So based on this, write an analytical paragraph based on the pie charts showing the percentage growth in different sectors in India from the year 2010 to 2020. So the 2 pie charts display the contribution of different sectors to the growth of India from 2010 to 2020. So in the year 2010, 1/4 growth was contributed by the agriculture sector alone, but it got reduced by almost half in 2020. So there is an increase of 2% in the growth recorded in the educational sector. So next, that is finance sector did not show any change in these years. Buildings and hospitality faced a substantial growth of 7% and 4% respectively. Trades fraction increased by 1%, whereas production decreased by 1%. So initially, agriculture was the main contributor to the growth of the economy. But in later years, all the sectors contributed almost in a balanced proportion. So my dear students, I hope you have understood this, and at the same time, I wish you a good luck for your exam.